Hello guys, it's me, King Mamzi, and in this video I'm going to be predicting which of the remaining characters I think are going to be in Jojo's All-Star Battle R, including the DLC characters, because I do in fact believe that they will release DLC for this game after release, so I will also be predicting the entire roster for this game. But first, let's start with the remaining 7 for the base roster. According to the original State of Play trailer and the updated PlayStation app trailer, we will be getting a total of 50 characters for the base roster. Now, I know that there was a few added slots in the updated trailer, but this could just mean that the game is getting DLC. I don't think that it means that we're necessarily going to be getting more than 50 characters, because if you go back and look at that updated trailer, then you can see that we're still only going to be getting 50 characters and not 50 plus characters. So overall, I still think that we're only going to be getting 50 characters for the base roster and then DLC after the release of the game. So for the sake of this prediction list video, I'm still going to go with the fact that we're going to get 50 characters the day the game comes out until Bandai says otherwise. But anyways, 41 of the 50 characters have already been revealed, being from the original game and the original game's DLC. Another 2 characters were leaked via the game's official website in the forms of both Prosciutto and Trish, which now brings us to a total of 43 revealed characters, while the 7 remaining ones are still unknown. But thanks to Trish and Prosciutto, we have somewhat of an idea of who the remaining characters are gonna be, because while both of these characters are indeed new, one of them was in a previous Jojo fighting game by the name of Eyes of Heaven, which was also made by CyberConnect 2, and the other character was not in this game. So this leaves me to believe that some of the remaining characters that are unknown to us will also have been in Eyes of Heaven, while the rest will not and will be more newer as a result. So expect to see some characters that were and were also not in Eyes of Heaven to appear in this prediction list. So let's begin with the first character on the list. It is Speedwagon from Part 1, who is both a massive fan favorite among the Jojo community as well as someone who was also playable in Eyes of Heaven, so it's a no-brainer that they will include a character like him in the base roster of the game. There's no way that he would be a DLC character. Yeah, he is popular, but mostly due to memes and waifu culture, not because of what he can actually do in terms of combat. So yeah, a DLC character, not very likely. Realistically, they're gonna put him in the base roster, especially since he is the only other new Part 1 character that they can pull from to put in this game. Now moving on, the next character on my prediction list is Von Stroheim from Part 2. While not as popular as our boy Speedwagon, Stroheim was also in Eyes of Heaven and is the only other new character that they can pull from Part 2 for this game, not to mention that his abilities and combat style mainly revolve around the use of his abdominal machine gun and his shoulder mounted UV lights. So making a moveset for him in a 2D fighter like this game is literally a walk in the park for CC2, so I do expect to see this character in All-Star Battle R. Now next up, we have Pet Shop from Part 3. Now I know some people are gonna be very surprised with this pick, but just hear me out. The only other Part 3 characters that they can pull from are the ones that were in Eyes of Heaven, because characters like Steely Dan and Elise just don't work in fighting games of any kind whatsoever. Now that's not to say that every character that was in Eyes of Heaven will necessarily work in a game like All-Star Battle R, as it is a very different type of fighting game. For example, Endul and Maria's stand abilities don't really translate well for this type of fighting game, especially the latter, as she can't do melee attacks and is only good for stunning and paralyzing opponents. So these two would only be good as support only characters rather than being actually playable, as opposed to someone like Pet Shop, whose stand ability is made for actual melee attacks in traditional fighting games and also has great long range offense as well. I understand that he isn't exactly a super popular pick even compared to Speedwagon and maybe even Stroheim, but not every character that they're gonna have for the game's base roster is necessarily gonna be a super popular pick. That's just the way it goes for almost any fighting game, to be honest, so I wouldn't be surprised if they put pet shop in the game just to have one of the new characters be from part 3. But now next up we have Yukako from part 4, a very lovable and popular female character, and rightfully so, because like I said in my wishlist video, she has a great dynamic with Koichi and is just a great character overall, and her standability, while crazy, is still really cool. Making a moveset for her in All-Star Battle R should not be too much trouble for CC2, and as far as new part 4 characters go that they could add in for All-Star Battle R, I'm not sure who else that they could add in that is not already in the game besides her, so I'm pretty confident that she will be in this game's base roster. Now next up we have the cold assassin himself, Risotto Nero from part 5, a character who was not in Eyes of Heaven but is still a fan favourite for sure. Now originally I did think of Abakio taking a spot on the roster, but his stand is one that I feel like CC2 would have the most trouble with incorporating into a 2D fighting game like All-Star Battle R, so his chances compared to Risotto just seem way smaller. Not saying that they can't put him in the game or that they cannot put in both, it's just I feel like Risotto would work better as a DLC character if Abakio was to be in the base roster, but sadly I just don't see that happening. So realistically, Risotto will be one of the brand new part 5 characters alongside Trish and Prosciutto that I think will join this game's roster. But again, I hope to be proven wrong and that we end up getting both characters, whether one of them ends up being DLC or not, but like I said, it doesn't seem to be very likely to happen. I think Risotto will be the one that will end up in the base roster of the game. Now moving on, we have Foo Fighters from part 6, a very popular character among those that really love Stone Ocean and one that has never been playable in a JoJo game before, which is somewhat surprising, but given the intense hype that the Stone Ocean anime did receive and that it will regain once again when part 2 airs in fall of this year, which is also when this game officially releases, I think it is a safe bet to say that they're going to most definitely add in some more part 6 characters for this game, with Foo Fighters being one of them and with the other one being none other than the last character on this prediction list, and that is Weather Report, who is another big fan favourite, not just among JoJo fans but especially part 6 lovers, and it also seems like a lot of the anime onlys have already took a very big liking to this guy and his stand ability, which he also calls a Weather Report. Also, unlike Risotto and Foo Fighters, he too was also in Eyes of Heaven, and his stand ability would translate very well for a game like All-Star Battle R, so I definitely expect to see him in this game. And now guys, that officially does it for this base roster prediction list. These are the 7 remaining characters that I think will most likely be in the base roster of the game. Now I can already see people questioning why I didn't include characters like Toru or other certain characters, which I am going to explain right now as we move into the DLC predictions for this game. Based off my base roster predictions, I assume that we are going to get 6 DLC characters after the game's release. These 6 DLC characters are going to be Toru, Jobin Higashikata, Part 4 Jotaro, Diego Brando, Alternative World, Diego Brando, and Pucci with Sea Moon and Made in Heaven. This is genuinely what I think the roster of DLC characters is going to look like for the game. I know a lot of people have been predicting Toru for the base game, but to me he works better as a DLC character, especially along with Jobin, due to the amount of hype that would surround both of them due to them being major villains of the latest JoJo part that most JoJo fans are very likely to be up to date with. It just seems way more logical to me. There wouldn't be as much hype around it if they were just thrown into the base roster, as many people would just see that coming. As for Part 4 Jotaro, it's a given because he is another version of him that was also a DLC in Eyes of Heaven, so they would very likely do it and get away with it too, since Jotaro is the face of the JoJo series and brand after all, so I can definitely see them making his Part 4 version a DLC character. Same with Sea Moon Pucci, we already have base Pucci confirmed for the base roster, and while it can be argued that this other version of Pucci can and should likely be in the base roster as well. I think they're gonna make him DLC instead, mainly because of the Stone Ocean anime, not because of spoilers, but so that they can release him during or after the release of the final part of the Stone Ocean anime to take advantage of the hype, because when a lot of anime onlys see Made in Heaven and Sea Moon in action in the anime, they are gonna want to play as this character way more than they ever did before back in Eyes of Heaven. And finally, as for Diego, there's two versions of this character that they could easily add into the game, but this would also mean taking up 2 spots on the roster, and I just cannot see them doing that for the base roster based on what we already know. So I'm gonna assume that they will make both versions of him DLC, and that pretty much does it for this DLC predictions. I might do a update video depending on how drastically different the final roster will look after the game comes out, but for now these are my JoJo All-Star Battle R full roster predictions with DLC included. If you guys enjoyed this video, then be sure to let me know by liking the video. Also make sure to comment your thoughts on it down below, along with what characters that you predict will be in the game. And if you would like more JoJo All-Star Battle R videos like this one, then make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with future uploads. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is your boy King Mamzi signing out. Take care and peace.